Hi there, I'm Sean, and this is Stories of Mormon. So, yesterday, YouTube suggested a video to me from the Friday Morning Nameless channel, and it was actually kind of interesting. I usually watch the Paul Vanderklay stuff uh, on its own, uh, but he's quite prolific. You can't really get to all of it, but Uh, this actually called out a clip from one of his videos that I hadn't seen, and it prompted me to go see it. And there was a part of it that spurred some thoughts, uh, around some things that I find with the Book of Mormon. So I'm going to play a little clip of it, and then I want to talk about a couple of things.
And look, this is the going back to the Columbus bit. We talked about Gutenberg and the Columbus thing. Imagine what it would be like to be Calvin. Let's just use, and again, I don't, full disclosure, you know a heck of a lot more about Calvin than I do, but I'm just
As
putting
I
myself,
should.
yeah, right, as a Calvinist, right? No, but I mean, like, if memory serves, he would, he was born a French Catholic, right?
Yes, yes.
And then, right, okay, good. That's okay. So imagine,
Got his education because of all these, ways of getting money and the Catholic structure and hierarchy.
yeah, right. So, so imagine looking at this sea of embedded um, uh, corruption, of which you cannot even see the bottom of. Like you could, move things to the side, to the side, to the side all day long and never get to the
Right.
bottom of that
Imagine
corruption.
Joe Biden
Yeah,
naming
yeah,
archbishops and
right,
bishops
right,
and clergy in America. Think
yeah,
about that, folks.
yeah, right. So good, right, okay. You know, so and then you hear this crazy story. So the world that you live in is nearly totally corrupt. There's not a parcel of land that isn't touched by someone with dirty hands. And you hear this story because it can only be a story. It's not a picture, it's not a film, it's not even a book yet. But you get a story about a whole half of a globe that you didn't know existed. Now, as far as I know, Calvin didn't have any pretensions about going to the New World. Is that fair? Okay, good. All right. But it doesn't matter. Imagine the idea that there's a place where you could start over. Good Lord. Good Lord.
Imagine. Yeah, well, Mars. I mean,
Right. So we, right. No, I mean, that's where I'm going with this, right?
yeah.
So, Eric Weinstein and always his talk like we got to leave the planet, and clearly Elon Musk seems invested in trying to get us to leave the planet. I get all that. Not my thing, but I get all that. The idea that all it needs is the idea that there's a place that you can go that you can start fresh. All of a sudden, you've just opened up worlds of possibilities that a generation before you would have no access to. By the frame itself, they
Yep.
would have no access to.
Yep.
That's world changing right there.
Well, and
So, uh, this part of their conversation really struck me as interesting because this psychological impact of what changes when there is a new world that opens up that people can go to, like that's central to the story of the Book of Mormon. So we've got this we've got this thing where we've got Lehi's family, and Lehi is fleeing Jerusalem, and we've got theories about that, of possibly it was corruption by the Deuteronomists that were reasons why he needed to flee, or else the now recent rules of take dreamers of dreams and so-called false prophets being anyone who isn't part of the ruling group, and you can kill them And so, because they are slaying the prophets, Lehi has to leave. But where does he go? The Lord leads him to a new land. He leads him to a promised land. And so it's kind of a repeat of what happens to Abraham, where Abraham needs to find a new place, and he turns to God, and he is promised an inheritance, and he is led to this new place. And it can't be the old places he has been. It has to be a new place. But that's kind of what this place is that we inhabit here in the Western Hemisphere. Living in, people in North and South America. It's a place that was separate for a long time. But what's interesting is, and I'm looking at my notes here, this psychological impact that I was referring to of what happens when these new places open up. It's kind of a big deal. But at the same time, when God moves people to go in a new direction and discover new places and open them up, sometimes that comes with a few strings attached. Specifically, I also wanted to look, I was looking in 2 Nephi 1, and there's actually a few verses in here. So we start in 2 Nephi 1, verse 5, and it says, "But said he, notwithstanding our afflictions, we have obtained a land of promise, a land which is choice above all other lands, a land which the Lord God hath covenanted with me should be a land for the inheritance of my seed. Yea, the Lord hath covenanted this land unto me, and to my children forever, and also all those who should be led out of other countries by the hand of the Lord." So that last little bit, everyone else who should be led out of other countries, for all of the mixture of the history that happened as people came out from Europe and came to inhabit this North American and also the South American continents, there really are arguments to be made that there was inspiration at work for kind of some of the unintended things that happened along the way. But I'll continue. "Wherefore, I, Lehi, prophesy according to the workings of the Spirit which is in me, that there shall none come into this land, save they shall be brought by the hand of the Lord. Wherefore, this land is consecrated unto him whom he shall bring. And if it so be that they shall serve him according to the commandments which he hath given, it shall be a land of liberty unto them. Wherefore, they shall never be brought down into captivity. If so, it shall be because of iniquity. For if iniquity shall abound, cursed shall be the land for their sakes. But unto the righteous it shall be blessed forever. And behold, it is wisdom that this land should be kept as yet from the knowledge of other nations. For behold, many nations would overrun the land, and there would be no place for an inheritance." So that verse 8 is, I think it's quite significant because that is 100% what happened when, starting in the 1500s. I know it was 1492, whatever, like it takes time to get these things moving. But starting in the 1500s, what we really did see was the beginning of this land being overrun, and we have in fact overrun it. And there really is no place for a real inheritance the way that the Lord describes inheritance both in the Old Testament and in the Book of Mormon. And number one, I think that's a little bit of a shame since, when we came, we also imported our feudalism and those patterns. But I think it's really interesting that we have been able to expand into this land, but there are warnings here that if we don't continue to follow the Lord, the land will be cursed. And I think, when we look at the culture war, when we look at the meaning crisis, these are all signs of what it looks like that we are experiencing the cursing from not following the Lord. And really, it's, you can go all doomsayer on it, but really the fact of the matter is this can get better if we turn to God and we trust in God instead of trusting in our institutions and instead of trusting in our doctrines. Our God is a God of relationship, and our God is we're dealing with someone who literally exists. And I can at a later time get into, Vanderklay had another interesting video where he's going over a Jordan Peterson conversation where he's talking about God as the arena or God as an agent. And I find myself more in the God as a farmer territory where he provides the field. That's the God as the arena aspect. And he is an agent. And between combining those two roles, not as opposites, but bringing them together, we have God as a farmer. And when we eventually get to Jacob 5 and talk about the parable of the olive vineyard, we will see very directly how this land and what's being talked about in these verses ties in to basically God as a farmer preparing and basically gathering the fruit that is the results of the people who are converted and transformed by his message. So, but I don't want to go on too long on this. It's real easy for me to just get rolling and go who knows where. But the core thing that's important here is there is an amazing thing that happens to the collective psyche when something opens up and when there's a new place to go inhabit. But it comes with rules. It comes with, promised blessings and promised cursings, depending on if you do what is right by what God commands versus what is not right by what God commands. So I hope you'll take some time and really kind of think about that. But thanks for coming. Hopefully like and subscribe if you want to get more commentary like this. But you have a good day.